because I totally had forgot. Okay, yeah, thanks F525. I wouldn't have had sound. Good. Okay, so there should be sound recording now. This is the first castle game of Shusaku. He's playing against Yasui Sanchi. Um, and yeah, we've mentioned it in the past, but Honimbo Shuwa felt that Sanchi was the strongest from the Yasui school. I don't really want to spoil the game, but to be honest, this game doesn't go very well for Yasui Sanchi. So I don't know. It was a little lackluster for a castle game, but let's just take a look at it anyway and have fun with it. The Fuseki is actually interesting because it's just different from anything we've seen so far. First thing is white plays here, which is it's just different, right? Um, the commentators noted that this eventually became a favorite move of Honimbo Shusai. I'm here, so if you can't hear me, that's on your end, Ruckus. You guys can talk to Ruckus and tell him there's audio. Um, and yeah, the commentators were Kato Shin and Ishida Yoshio. Okay, cool. So yeah, opening is pretty interesting in this game. It's already different than anything we've seen so far. And it gets a little more interesting because black chooses to do a pincer, three space flow pincer, rather than choosing some corner move, right? We might expect him to pick a corner move, but he doesn't. White starts a Taisha shape here. So of course black is going to get out and separate white, right? Because white might have two groups. And plus, this sort of situation is really favorable for black to fight because we have two helping stones and white doesn't have a helping stone, right? C is too far away to be useful in this fight. So that might be why white actually didn't even do Taisha. He Haned on the outside instead. Again, because if we get into this sort of situation, it's playable, but who really has the helping stones for fighting? They're all for black, so he plays like this instead. And plays here. Where next for black? A or B? B. What does A depend on? Good, yeah, there's a ladder. So um, black can go to capture these stones, but there's a ladder here. And in this case, it works for white. So black has to back off, which means that white gets to get the 3-3 point, which is good for him settling here. So now we need to settle our group, right? How far do you think we can extend along the top? J17. Good. Now white has an A stone here, so there's moves he can do to separate us. So you might expect to play tighter. Why is it that you think we can go this far? There's a specific reason. These are the sort of characteristics I was thinking about today. For Q players, you can really get a lot stronger. I mean, obviously reading is important, and if you want to be a super strong player someday, you have to have the reading. But just getting used to the important characteristics of stones and groups on the board can easily get you to low dawn area. So what are the characteristics that make this okay for black? Um, or to give more of a hint, if white starts separating us, what problem is he going to run into that is going to create issues for him? Hmm. Nobody's hit on it yet, and I don't think it's that difficult, so I'm going to wait until someone does. This is pretty important, I guess. That may be true, but what about locally? There we go. Yeah, thanks. So the characteristic is that the D14 stone has specific weaknesses, right? So if we start running out, black's going to have all sorts of Sente plays, which means that he's not really that weak, right? So black's not that weak. Now let's change the picture a little bit. Let's say that there's already a white stone here. This is a tiger's mouth. Black is not going to be extending to J17. It doesn't make any sense, right? Because in the vicinity, white is very strong, and he's got this Aji stone. So we're not going to play loose. The only reason that black is playing loose here is because he can get away with it because white isn't strong either. It's balanced, right? Um, but in this situation, black would play tightly. Hopefully that was somehow illuminating for some of you. I think it's pretty important, this type of thing, this type of characteristic. Um, so indeed, he plays there. And now we would expect to have white play in the last open corner, and that's probably the best thing to do. But he approaches here. It's also playable. By the way, the reason that the pro players gave for white having a bad game was just the opening. They said that, Yasui Sanchi is a really strong fighter, but his opening is kind of not so great. And that's what happened in this game. So maybe he should play here, right? Something like this. Instead, he played here. And that allows black to get the open corner, right? Different ways to play it. I found this kind of interesting. He played a 3-5 and he made a a 5 space extension from the C11 stone. Yeah, Moku Hazushi. How do we normally approach the 3-5 if we want profit, corner profit? Yeah, D3 is the normal way to approach. Yeah, that's possible too. And yeah, E4, yeah, these are all possible. E4 gives away the corner though. Um, that's actually what white plays here. So typically this is what we would do if we wanted the corner points. And you can see it's the same situation as the top right. So it's as if we played the corner first, black approached, and then we played away. So in this case, white's actually more in the corner than black. So white can actually expect more territory in some sense. I think Mr. Yang said to me once that it's almost like, in terms of points, maybe it's like 60-40 in white's favor, or maybe like 55-45, something like that. Um, this one can come under more pressure, right? This could be more of a tight situation. That's true. Yeah, you can also see this move. And that's also kind of asking, just please take the corner and I'll make an extension here. That's pretty easy going for both. But he played this one, so that gives the corner away, right? So how do we take the corner here? Just take a nice big corner. White gets a forcing move. Nowadays, Joseki tends to be A, but back then they played B, which makes sense, right? Walk ahead of white. Nowadays becomes like this. White pokes his head out, and now there's a vital point at A, so black needs to defend that to keep his position high, and then white will play some sort of extension, right? But in those days they played like this. And here is where white really kind of got himself into trouble. He plops a stone down here, and this just doesn't turn out so well. And the plan here is that maybe you can attack A, but given that there's a weakness around C14, he actually doesn't really have time to get that done, and we'll see that unfold. This essentially leads to a bad opening for white, and he's never really able to catch up. So if he wants to be more consistent with A, which is an outside move, right? We saw how we could take more corner profit, but instead he went for an outside move. He can play like this, threatening to surround black with a move at A next, right? That would be painful. So black's going to respond, and then we can extend on the bottom. Make a nice relationship, right? This would make more sense if we're giving the corner away for the outside. But instead he put something in here, and this becomes problematic. Black attaches and separates. You can think of this as the same sort of idea behind this move, right? Get out and separate. The other way to separate would be to play like this. That would be possible as well. So he plays here. And now the problem is white can't really effectively attack the A stone anyway. So he actually has to play here first, which he does. Let's see that. So if he plays here, it seems like maybe this is a little scary, but white can or black can just play a knight's move here as a forcing move and can just jump here. And this is not the easy type of group to kill, right? So it's too much. And if he does this sort of thing, it's just going to give extra forcing moves. So even though this connection may look slow, it's just trying to give less forcing moves. So he has to fix here first. And now black fixes up. And white has another chance here, but he makes a mistake again, at least, in the opinion of Kato Shin and Ishida. He plays this, which is kind of heavy. The reason it's heavy is because it doesn't really put a whole lot of pressure on black, right? Black's strong anyway. So they suggest settling like this. And that this would leave weaknesses in black and also start to settle white shape a bit better. Instead, he played this move. And where for black now? There's a couple of choices. E11, yeah, that's a good choice. F11, another great choice. Actually, I'm really happy to see you say that, Bakana, because there's low Q players who never even think about B, because we get it so into our heads that, a jump is just a one-space jump. But two-space jump is also a very good idea here because C11 is pretty light. Yeah, so that's the other thing. I wanted to see if someone would notice. Remember how we were talking about the J17 stone and how that depended on D14 being weak? Well, white made it strong, right? So what Shusaku does is he fixes this now, and you can understand why, right? Now, these moves are also good moves, and in fact, these are the other two moves that the pros suggested would be good moves to play right now. So, good job on that. This is kind of a more solid waiting approach, and yeah, A is weak, but the B stones are weak too, right? So black is not in a super hurry to try and help that. Um, Now, white makes another move that they considered to be a mistake. They actually said this move was inexplicable. Um, where does white have to play now? I mean, it's almost obvious. I think it's where all of us would play. Okay, maybe not. On the left. Yeah, this seems like the place to play, right? And this is where they said white has to play here now that he's prepared A and B. Um, but he doesn't. You can't feel too bad. I mean, Yasui Sanchi played it. Um, he did something else, right? And he's a really strong player. His idea is that, the A stones are weak too, so he wants some follow up there. But the problem is this gave black a chance to help this stone. And he does go with the two space jump because he wants to be lighter. One space jump would be a bit heavier here. So if white were to play here, black won't try to save that stone immediately. He'll just pincer these two stones for now. Perhaps that's what white was worried about. So we get to this position, and that means white gets this move. So he kind of, made some shape here where he can start developing the bottom. The bottom's pretty developable now, but black was able to get B and also was able to defend the C stone, right? So how to play on the bottom? Any ideas? There's plenty of ways. Probably everything's okay. What Shusaku goes with is this one, right? This is the two-space low approach we don't see as often. This is when black is more interested in the side than he is the corner, right? Because there's a potential weak groups over here. So he's saying, I'm more interested in the side. Whereas if we do this, it's much easier to pincer, right? White might pick some sort of pincer, like make a good relationship here and also pincer the A stone. That's a pretty easy choice for white. The idea here is that when white pincers, and he does in this case, when we play here, we actually get more in the corner than we would with an approach at P3. So typically, white is encouraged to take the corner, but in that case, we can set up a nice position on the bottom and aim at the weaknesses over here, right, in this group. So instead, it went like this. Where for white next here, typically? Q3, that's right. White actually plays the outside Hane, which is possible too, but it's not seen so often. Normally we get this one. Where for black? q4, and for white, r2. Yeah, good. Atari towards the corner first in this joseki, and we split one stone off. This move's important. And then white has different moves. Um, the one the commentators showed in this game was that maybe white will want to play this one. So we could expect something like this. Generally, the reason you Atari towards the corner first is because if you do this one first, now black could change his mind and go for the outside. So you typically don't want to give him that choice, so you do the other Atari first. So we get into this one instead, and white actually descends. I'm familiar with playing a tiger's mouth here. I'm not exactly sure why he didn't. And then black will jump or play a dog's face jump, but he came down instead. And that means that the A stone's weak, right? It's got some weakness to it. So black is able to press on that. And white's getting points, but he's pushing from behind, right? So the pros pointed out that this sequence for black kind of shows that black knew he was winning and just wanted to keep the game simple. So that's what he does here. Okay, what's probably the next most important thing going on the board? Good, yeah. This approach was never responded to yet. Any ideas how white should play here? R14. I know that's where you would play for sure. I don't think R14 is such a good idea because I think black is more prepared to fight than white is. So same thing for Taisha. I think black is more prepared to fight than white. What other choices are here? Yeah, F525 got it. So lean and then extend. Actually, Yasui Sanchi just extends, and they felt that to be a mistake because black plays here now, and there's some development potential. So they felt like white should push first to try and keep that low, and then extend. And this type of fight's a bit different, right? Because black is surrounded already, and these are a little far away, so that would probably be okay for white. But instead, he just extended here. And now this is a pretty tough situation for white. He still has some chance, but he kind of played in a way that was easy for black still. He attached, which gives black the Hane. And now where for black? This is a really important moment. R8. Does everyone agree? No one agrees? No one agreed with your move, Ruckus. Yeah, I was actually just trying to trick you. R8 is definitely the right move. The reason this is an important moment is because it's like the time to cash in, right? If we don't do something now, white's going to jump out and all those stones are going to be pointless. So we have to turn here now to make this a good area. So R8 was good instinct. So white doesn't have time to play like this. He should just jump out, and when black comes in here, he just needs to be prepared to fight. That's really his chance in this situation. This seems too easy for black. You fight. We'll look at that in a second. So white actually doesn't cut. He plays the knight's move here. If you cut, black can just extend. White comes down. Now, what's the problem here for white? There's a good forcing move, right? Black has this as sente, and that's why this fight's not really easy for white. On the other hand, with R18 already there, the cut is going to be severe now. So we have to defend the cut. And this is kind of a move that seldom gets played, right? It looks a little funny, but it fixes the cut and it gives the most influence towards the outside, nice and solid. Similar to this type of move, except maybe just a little more influence towards the center. All right, so now white tries to do something. I guess he probably realizes that he's in trouble. He wants to attack the A stone. Let's see, who knows what's the proper usual way to go about attacking the A stone? Maybe that's vague, but there's a particular concept here. In a sense, you're close, but in another sense, you're exactly wrong. Like complete opposite of what you're supposed to do. Yeah, that's right. So there's a two-space gap here, right? And the idea, and this is again coming from Mr. Yang, is that if you want to attack the A stone, you need to lean on the B stone, right? Exactly, yeah, C-dub's got it. So if your target is A, you lean against B. But white doesn't do that. He plays another move that they found peculiar. They said, oh, this is kind of peculiar. He played here and then wedged. But the typical way is if you want to attack A, touch the one you're not aiming at, right? And just respond to a hane with a hane, essentially. So yeah, double hane doesn't work there. Which one? Hane under. Hane under? Double hane. Oh, I see. Are you calling this a double hane? Oh, I see. I don't call this a double hane unless white already had another stone there, but okay. Yeah, it seems like there's a ladder, right? Interesting. So, I don't know, maybe in this case you could still surround and continue attacking it. But yeah, this is the typical way to go about that. And they actually even pointed this out in the review. But yeah, I'm not sure. White might have to do something different in this case because of the ladder. That's a good point. That might actually be why he played like this. So he wedges. And now black played a really nice Tsuji here. Wonder if anyone can find it. It's almost like an asking move. D13. More magical than that. Yeah. He played here, which is a really cool asking move. It's like, okay, well, are you going to answer it A? You're going to answer it B? Are you going to cut me? White can't figure out anything better to do, so he just cuts. But let's take a look at the meaning here. If you play here, now this is Sente, and black can connect. And if you play here, what do we get as Sente now? B13 is natural, but there's another move. Yeah, a little ugly, but we get to fix our cut in Sente and then play like this. So very nice, right? So white couldn't find anything better to do, so he just cut. But black can Atari and connect, which is also a peep. And he just settles super easily, nice and solid here on the second line. And white even has to go back and play here. And there's still Aji in the A stone, so pretty nice for black. And now black's actually shows some good insight here. He wants to help his lower left corner now. And he plays here. He's trying to pick up 2 stones. And actually there's not really much white can do about this. So he answers. And believe it or not, this whole situation changes by the end of the game. But for now, it seems that black has picked up 2 stones. If we do this sort of thing, black can just connect under, and then we still don't have a base yet, right? So that's why white just plays like this. Let's go back and see what black was looking at. The reason he wanted to defend his corner is because this is actually would be Sente against these guys. And it also threatens the corner. So that's why he did that. It's pretty interesting. Okay, so let's see. White gets rid of this Aji on the A stone. It's a little dangerous, but clearly we can see that there is Aji here, right? And there's different ways for black to use it. So he gets rid of that. That also means that black's getting thin on the top. So black has a really good game, so he's just going to try and make himself solid up there. Any ideas? How would you go about fixing the top group? J15? That's probably what I would play, to be honest. I want to see if anyone gets the actual move. So I'll wait a little longer. And then I'll give a hint, and then I'm sure everyone will get it. Nope. Okay, here's the hint. Does black expect to be invading into white's area ever? Yes, Ruckus expects to invade, but he's unreasonable. Black is not going to be invading into there, right? Right. So now we can come up with the idea of touching, right? So we can touch this stone. But he does it like this. He contacts here. And we're not so worried about this because we weren't going to invade anyway. And it's not like B added a whole bunch. It's actually, it's not really over concentrated, but it's not anything great either. So he does that. And then he plays here, which again is making sure the A stone can't come out. And also, if you notice, one of the main things white has on this board is influence. So he's just playing towards that. And again, the commentator said black is trying to wrap the game up quickly. So maybe this isn't how he would play if the game was closer, but he doesn't mind playing simple, right? Even if it helps white a little bit, because he has a really good game going on here. So he just plays like this. And let's see, where did white go next? White has to reduce the right hand side. So he plays a move over here. This is the deepest he can come. Black answers, white ones, black backs off. It's a little dangerous to be coming in here. So we come out first. Black has to come under. And white is trying to get something in the center, right? So he's trying to make these stones work together. Black doesn't really care. He just says, okay, I'm going to play nice and solid. And you can see that he's actually starting to get something done here, right? Not too bad. Black, of course, has directions that he can come in from, though. White makes a quick exchange here. This is Sente, right? Because white's so thick out here. And if white were to play A next, black would be dead. So black has to live. Then he comes back and responds. And again, white seems to be getting something. The open door is like from the A side now, so black plays from there. White plays some additional forcing moves here. And one thing, A is a vital point, right? So like A, normally white would have to play B, and black could probably come through and pick up 2 stones. So white decides to fix that for now. It also makes black's position weaker, right? But black's not going to fix that. He's more interested in making sure this center area doesn't get too big. But he doesn't like jump in with B. That might be a little dangerous. He just plays a nice move like this. So now it's going to be hard for white to close up shop here. But he does his best anyway. Black attaches. If white responds normally, then we can just jump in with B, right? So white's not going to do that. Actually, where does white play? Let's see here. So he just wants, actually, yeah, that made sense. I didn't realize that before when I was reviewing this. But if we answer, then black plays here, right? And that's the good move. So we just play that ourselves. And one thing you might notice, or may not yet have noticed, is that this group got cut off, right? And black got some stones in the center. And so if this was more of an even game at this point, perhaps black would attack, but he doesn't really care. He's confident enough of his win that he just keeps playing big moves, and this is quite a big one. There's a proverb or an idea that once your opponent starts closing an area, he's committed to it. So that's the time to play the endgame stuff. Now that black's really committed over here, he's not going to ignore this type of move. So it's good timing. And white says, you know what, my group on the bottom really is kind of weak, so I'm going to settle it. And notice that he attaches. Since the A stone is strong, we can touch the stone. Get some additional help. Where for black here? L5, M5, yeah, the main thing I wanted to check is that you don't want to connect at one of these spots. Oh, sorry, Misto. Um, because there's too many black stones around here. So black doesn't really care. Also, white's not really weak, right? This group is not really weak anymore. Yeah, see, I'm trying to trick you guys now. So you're actually going to have to go based on, the board and stuff. You won't be able to trust me. Um, any sort of connection would just be super over concentrated, right? So you guys are talking about like moves like this, which is better, but black just doesn't do anything over there for now. He plays a probing sort of move over here to see what white's going to do. And white drops down and plays here. Black could catch two stones, right? But he doesn't have time to do that because white would counter Atari at B. So black's got to fix. And now white fixes. And black still has Sente. Now where does he use it? That's the question. I don't want to screw the tree up. Do you actually know, or do you just have an idea? C18. No, but that's a big move. Where was it? See, I know where the next main move is, but there's a forcing exchange that gets made before that. And oh, okay, I remember now. Yeah. So remember we did this, right? So now we can monkey jump, which is nice. And then we back off. And white actually has to live, right? So where's the living move? You're gonna die, Ruckus. We actually we actually saw this same sort of shape the other day. You really have to be careful in this kind of case because if you play here, black will play the vital point, and believe it or not, it's dead now. Because if you push out and do this, it turns into bent 4. And if you, well, there's nothing else you can do actually, right? Like you throw in, that doesn't make any difference either. So you have to be really careful in this sort of shape. P1. P1, what is that? Okay, so yeah, you got to play here. And so that's what he does. And now we get to come in and try to break this area. White plays kind of an interesting probe now. Oh, by the way, I guess I should point out that the pros got bored after this move, move 99. This move actually, this game goes on for like 267 moves, but they gave up at this point. They're like, whatever, fend for yourself from now on. There's no comments from the pros after that. They just said the game is, won for black. Um, but yeah, white plays kind of a really interesting um, probe coming up here. I wonder if anyone can guess it. Actually, I know that no one's going to guess it because it's just too insane. He plays here, and to be honest, I'm not exactly sure why. I guess he's trying to see, like, if black just carelessly answers at A, then we get like free moves at B, right? So he's trying to see how black's going to answer, but black just plays it really cool. He gets his forcing move here, and then the next move he plays really solid too. Um, I wonder, where would you guys play here? He actually plays here. which might look really bad, but again, he doesn't want any forcing moves on this A stone. So he plays this empty triangle here just to keep the shape solid. And like you might wonder about this, right? But then that gives more freedom to the Q14 stone for later, which at least is going to be a tons of co-threats. Gives white the peep. Peep? What sort of peep? It seems like at least the A stone will be taking liberties in this area. Maybe white can use that somehow, but not quite sure yet. S14. Yeah, but it's hard to see how to use that, right? S14, R14, and it doesn't really go anywhere, at least not yet. So he does that, and then he comes back to here. Sente? But Sente stones in your dead Sente stones don't necessarily help. Okay, so I guess white is trying to attack here, but it's kind of difficult. So black just answers. White Hanes, you might expect black to connect, but he clamps instead, which is fine because that Sente, and not only is he out, he's starting to get quite a nice area here, which is good. Here's where things get interesting though. White plays here. Yeah, we actually can't kill these white stones, and black just says, you know what, I don't care. I'm going to make my corner really solid. That allows white to capture here, and also prepares another capture. But black still doesn't care. He just defends in the center. And let's see, I think white made some sort of exchange now. Right, so he doesn't capture this immediately. First he says, you know, I'm not going to let you have an eye here. Then he takes it. And black still doesn't care. He plays here. So, you know, making this area stronger, also making white's area weaker. But white is aiming at something too. The next move is pretty interesting. He plays here. Now this might partly be desperation, but this is sort of what white has been aiming at, right? While he's been capturing this other stuff. So black plays strong in the corner. White clamps. Black connects. White goes to start and set up some co-threats. Then he Hanes. And Hanes. Black plays here. And where for white? This is a ko, right? Which is the sort of thing white needs if he's going to be in this game. And then he's got the ko threat. And black says, you know what? I really don't want to deal with this. And I'm winning. So he actually doesn't care. He just lets him capture it. And then lives in the corner. And he's still got a comfortable lead. So white comes back and defends here where black was pushing. Let's see, what was next? Black wants to keep coming in here, right? Make a nice shape. White Ataris. Where for black here? Good, yeah. We don't care about the N12 stone. We just want to make sure we make it in to this area. And indeed we do. So, you know, despite how big the center looked now, it seems like black's just coming in from every direction which is really annoying. And now even the top's getting weak, so white has to defend. Um, yeah, and then black gets his sente here. And he actually connects here at this point. This is getting big, right? We've seen in the Starstorm Yosei lectures that a connection like this is actually a very big endgame move. All right, so where did white play? Give me some ideas because it'll jog my memory. C18, nope. L18, that's soon. Oh, that's right. He played here. So this is the same sort of thing, right? This area is finishing up, so let's push in a little bit. Oh no, misclick. Oh, good game. Oh man, there goes the tree. White does not Hane. Start over? Should we start over? Actually, I already feel like my voice giving away. I don't know if I've been talking too much lately, but I don't want to start over. So he does that, and then he does this, which this Hane and connection. Actually, let's see. See how big is the Hane and connection at A? Let's see if you guys get it. I'm gonna have to do this too. How big? Or at least give me a guess. I should. 12? Not 12. 8? Oh, you're close. Oh no, you're right. You're right. Good, C-Dub. Yeah, so let me. I don't know how many of you guys have been attending the Starstorm Yosei lectures. Those are actually really useful. And he's teaching you like the proper way to count just from scratch in any situation. Um, I think even by his admission, he hasn't even scratched the surface yet. I mean, it can get a lot more complicated, but he's teaching you how to count in the general situation. Let me actually give you guys a shortcut because there's certain things that happen so often that it's worth just knowing a shortcut. Um, so let me show you the shortcut. And I learned this from Crois. Um, his real name is Insong, right? He's do some advertising for him here. He's got this fantastic league. Um, Particularly if you guys are in European time zones, I would recommend you check out his website. But even if you're not, even if you're in US time zones like me, you can join as a spectator and have access to all the videos. And he's like one of the best teachers easily on KGS. He's fantastic. He was, a first class Insei, Korean Insei, Young Useng, and almost turned pro, but didn't. And yeah, he's ridiculously strong. And when he does this endgame stuff, it just scares me how quickly he counts it. Yeah, it's really almost just gross how quickly he can count this stuff. But this is where I got this trick. Okay, so on the second line, the Hane and connect. This is, oh man, I broke the tree again. Okay, so in the real game, Yasui Sanchi actually plays here because he's losing, right? And he wants the chance of like a ko, so he plays the weird shape. Sorry, I got distracted talking about this other league and stuff. So normally we connect, right? This is already 6 points. Oh man, I think a spider just like dropped off of a web and landed on me, by the way. Um, but anyway, that's 6 points already. Now here's where the trick comes in. Um, you look at the follow-up moves. So white's follow-up is going to be this, right? In Sente. And that was 2 points changed. Now sometimes, how do I make it? How do I make the shape? Like sometimes black has to back off, right? And it ends up being like 4 additional points. That's not the case here. So in this one, it's 2 additional that we can add to the 6. And then now we have to check blacks. For black, the Hane and connect, that's still just our original 6. But notice there's no Sente follow-up because of the N17 stone is strong. So we add 0 actually. So we get 6 plus 2, and that's 8. So in total, whoever plays there, it's worth 8. Now, if that wasn't there, let's pretend N17 wasn't there. Now the follow-up is going to be like this, right? Which is an additional 4 points. In that case, it would be 6 plus 4 plus 2, which would get us to 12, right? And sometimes it can be 6 plus 4, and that gets you to 14. So it can get really big. Oh yeah, this he does instantly, but the stuff I'm talking about that he counts quickly is like way harder than this. He breaks Endgame into um, levels. So he says like this is level 1 difficulty, this is level 2, and he teaches the class level by level, and once you have one level down pretty good, then he shows the next, and he does like the crazy stuff really really quickly. Just as a funny story, one time there was something from a real game that someone asked about the end game, and he just said it was really really hard and that not to worry about it, and then he said something like um, more than 6 points, but less than 6.5. And I was like, okay, then, whatever. More than 6, but less than 6.5. But yeah, I would definitely recommend checking it out. Okay, so let's get back to the real game. So this Hane and Connect is really big. Anyway, he does this to possibly have the Ko. And let's see, what did Black play next? Black plays here. It wasn't though. I don't think it involved a Ko. It involved something else that changed the probabilities. It was pretty funky. Yeah, it wasn't even like a half a point, which we're familiar with. It was between, a half a point and something else. Black doesn't want to have to deal with that Ko, so he just drops down here. And white plays a Sente here. And captures a stone. Black keeps coming through. It's kind of unfortunate how little white actually is getting out of that center. Okay. All right, this is where white decides to come and wedge in and see how much he can get in the center. Our rank's like 6p. If I understand what you mean, then yes. Dawn back at during this time just essentially meant pro. From my understanding, they didn't have amateur Dawn ranks. So if you went from 1Q to 1 Dawn, you were now a pro. Yeah, you can consider it like 6 Dawn professional. And in the same way, today we have 6 Dawn professionals that are just on their way up, right? Like they're already, we have 6 non-professionals that are already among the strongest players. It's the same way like that. Just kind of takes a while for their rank to really catch up to them. Where did black play next? Oh, right. There's a cool Tsuji on top. There's some problems in this shape. We'll actually look at this for a little bit. Now, it would take a while to actually read it all out, but anyone have like an instinct on something crazy you could play here? Yeah, I actually expected you to get it, Ruckus. Good. It's a vital point. Um, and white can't actually do anything about it, so he just has to do this and suffer the damage. Let's actually take a look at this. Let's say we do this. It seems to me we have like 4 choices now. Some of them are very easy to get rid of, like A just leaves a free Atari and then free Ataris, right? So this is definitely impossible. So we can get rid of A. If we do C, it's basically the same thing because we still need to play here. Whoops. And it's going to just be like that again. If we play here, black can just turn, right? And 5 stones are dead. So nothing we can do. So we can get rid of that. If we do B, again, that's just the same thing. So we can get rid of that. So those are pretty easy. And again, there weren't any diagrams from the pros, so I was trying to work this out myself. Now with this one, it's actually more difficult. Where for black? P18? Yeah, I don't think that's going to work out, unfortunately. Because there's not enough liberties, right? P16. Okay. That doesn't really change the liberties, though. Yeah, so that M18. This is one of those situations where you're playing against someone and they haven't necessarily read the thing out, but they use all the aji and they're like, is something gonna happen? Is something gonna happen? Oh, nothing happened. Which is completely understandable in a blitz situation. Yeah, so that actually doesn't work. What other? Q17 turns into the same thing, unfortunately. Yeah, it's the Hane. Okay, so now this is a little different, right? Because now if we do this, that is Sente, right, for the snapback. But we have more liberties now, right? Where next for black? I want to see if someone blows it here. S19 is blowing it because that makes co-possibility. T19, does that work? T19 might work. What's wrong with it? Maybe I'm missing something. Q19 first? Oh, maybe you're right. Yeah, S19, right? Oh wait, but you can't do that. T18? Interesting. Okay. Yeah, it seems like there's still problems with this. Now, this is where most people would play immediately without thinking, but the problem, yeah, I'm sort of dancing around the fact that red said the right answer a while ago. The problem here is that we can end up getting like a ko situation, right? So this is actually a fundamental, but we don't know it often. This is the proper move, believe it or not. And now there's nothing that white can do. I like ko, even when you were supposed to. I like ko when I was supposed to die, just outright, but I don't like ko when I was just supposed to kill outright. Okay, so that's one thing, but that's not everything. What if white plays here? Now you're going to be happy, Merrick, because this is a legitimate ko. So, yeah, so of course white would be capturing the ko all the way along that, but I'm just trying to show that that would be ko. So, no? What no? Did I miss something? Oh, no one did. Okay. So yeah, that's why white had to back off. And we get to this situation. And I believe black plays his Atari. And oh right, honey and connect. I'm sorry guys, my mind is somewhat somewhere else today. Um, I'm on like a mini vacation and I'm gonna be heading to Yosemite tomorrow. And I don't know, somehow my mind just feels a little blank compared to normal. Yeah, I hope to have fun. Thanks. So he does that, and then this is a nice move, right? Yeah, white has to back off. Oh, to Yosemite Valley. Going to be hiking Half Dome. Actually, if you pronounced it in, if you took that to be Romanized Japanese, that would be Yosemite. Maybe that's what I should call it. Okay, so black just keeps poking in and white is not happy. Tries to use all his forcing moves now. Forcing move, forcing move, forcing move, forcing move, forcing move. And then he comes to here. What's P10? Yeah, P10 is soon. Right now, actually. White says, I'm going to play here to stop you from getting some points. Black pushes in, makes a few points. Black says Atari, but white says Atari you first, then connect. Black Atari, poke. And we're getting close to the end here. Ko threat, capture the ko. Atari, and connect. I was hoping you weren't going to ask that F525 because that's a question that I had as well, and I'm not completely sure about it. Maybe you guys can help me figure it out though. So yeah, he connected, right? Which gave this. So what if we just captured first? That would give us the 2 points. Plus that would give us that point. Right, C becomes more sente. And also we lose potential at D. So that's the most I could see out of this. I think when he's connecting here, he's saying, okay, now maybe I could get something extra here. Whereas if you play B immediately, that's lessened, right? And also maybe I can get a point at B. So you would have to, go into all the details and examine it. And this would not be a level 1 Yosei problem, by the way. This would probably be like 2 or 3 or something. Somewhat difficult. But so they do this little ko. White connects his, and black just takes some forcing moves. Sente, 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 and then plays the move here. White does his sente, 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 and takes a point. Black makes this point. Black can make another point if he plays it A now, right? Because white won't be able to play B. So white Ataris. But Merrick likes ko, so Shusaku plays here. And that's a ko threat. And obviously this is not the kind of ko white can fight. That's why black was willing to do that. And fix here. And white fixes his ko, and black fixes his ko. So despite black being relatively, just willing to give way here and there, at different points in the game, he still won by 11 points, which that's a really big margin, right, in a pro game. Normally, games that are finished are decided by like 5 points or less, typically. Like I think 11 points is more than one stone's difference, right? So it wasn't the greatest game from Yasui Sanchi, but they put like a little thing after the game sort of defending him a little bit, pointing out that Shua against Yasui Sanchi, they played 133 games, and Shua won 66 of them, 66 to 55, with 11 Jigos. And that's actually a really, really good record against someone as strong as Honimbo Shua. And Yasui Sanchi actually beat Shua 6 to 3 against the Castle games, and those were the most important games. So for some reason, he didn't do very well against Shusaku ever for the rest of his life. Let's see, what does it say here? Lifetime record of 2 wins to 10 losses against Shusaku. So clearly they didn't play nearly as often as he did with Shua. But the interesting thing is that there's one castle game out of the 19 that Shusaku was invincible in. There was one that he really ran into a bunch of trouble and actually probably should have lost, and that was a game against Yasui Sanchi. So we'll eventually see that one. If I remember right, he screws something up in the endgame and loses anyway, which is kind of a shame, but I guess good for Shusaku. I gave him his undefeated record in the castle games, but yeah. That was the game. Let me see. What did you guys say? Usually Comey or less. Yeah, Comey or less. Yeah, it's kind of interesting, right? Because like if you watch, even if you go back to Hikaru no Go, when they're doing like Go Go I Go with Umezawa Yukari, Comey was 5.5, right? And they changed it to 6.5 in the middle of while they were doing that anime. So it's actually relatively recent. And Alexi here, I think, told me that Shusaku put a value of 4.5 points. He would be willing to pay 4.5 points to play as black. So, all right, good game, guys. I am going to be back by next weekend, so I'll see you on next Saturday, and it'll be another castle game. It'll be castle game number 2, and it's going to be against Sakaguchi Sentoku, which I've heard of him, but I don't think we've seen a game with him yet in these lectures. So, all right, see you later.